Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, so we're continuing on with this daily sort of a thing for the moment. We'll see how we go. I haven't gone outside yet. The kids are outside with music on, so I need to interrupt them when I go out to film. So as you can see, this is what I'm talking about with storage in here with the 3D printer and stuff. So this is what I'm trying to get a handle on. But what I wanted to show you before I went out, because of heading out there to do all the kitchen stuff, was I forgot to mention that we got Duck and Toothless desexed during the week, so they are home now. They're still in the cage for a day or two more till they take the next lot of their antibiotics after being done, so I'll show you them on the way through. Panda and Sinatra are loose in the girls' bedroom. We've got a door up there, so they've been sleeping and living in there for the moment, but we need to get them desexed as well before they can roam free, obviously. But I just spent half an hour putting together some more of the little people for the boys on my desk that's just as messy as everywhere else in this house, but just put the 3 little mini 13. So the big ones that they've got are like 3 times the size, but they released these little mini ones as well, and the boys wanted a mini one each. So the little mini people I printed yesterday and I've just put together for them. So Darryl went to a 7 a.m. service at church this morning, so he's not back yet, but the kids are having breakfasts and all that sort of stuff, and I'm going to head out and start food. So I just wanted to show you Duck and Toothless on the way through, the little people that we've been working on, and yeah. Here's Duck. Now Duck is male and he was pretty much full grown when we got him, so he's really not particularly affectionate. He will come and sniff your fingers and he'll let you pet his head when you feed him, but yeah, he's pretty standoffish. But he's now desexed, and the whole point of these was to have some more mouses and things like that. So hopefully once he's let out and he's allowed to roam around, he'll come back for dinner and we'll get some, slight affection out of him. But he was full grown and a feral when we got him, so we'll see how he goes. He's a very pretty cat though. We have Miss Toothless, who spends most of her time in her little cave here with those big green eyes, and she is she's female, and we got her desexed as well, so she's all sorted, and she's a lot younger than Duck, we thought, but she did go on heat, so we don't actually know how old she is. It's all a bit of a guessing game, but again, she does the same thing. She'll sniff your fingers, she'll let you pet her ears while she's eating and things like that, but she's pretty standoffish as well. Alright, so out in the kitchen now. I've got the stock reheating now after refrigerating overnight, so we're going to heat that up. We're going to get that strained and sorted for everything else. But first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some hot cross bun dough and get that proofing. I'll probably sort of want to do 2 double batches, and we'll end up with 4 trays, and then I can give some to the neighbours and things like that. Because that's what I normally do at Easter, is I pass them on. Darryl could take some to church if I wanted to do some. He's been at church this morning, as I said, but he will go on Sunday as well, so I could make some for him to take on Sunday too. We'll see how we go. But I'll start off with our normal double batch, and then I'll make a call, because I was going to make some apple cinnamon ones too. So let me just grab a few things. All right, Darryl did go to Toowoomba last week, and I got him to grab me a dozen tins of the coconut cream from Coles, so that I would have them for baking for this weekend. So I'm going to use a tin of coconut cream, which is straight off the shelf. And then I'm going to top this up with some warm water. So I'm just warming some water in the kettle. I don't want it hot, but I do want it warm because this is cold. And we're going to top this up to 650 in liquid. Get the rest out of the tin. $650. Now I did $550 and I ended up doing $700 the other day. I think $650 is probably going to be a good sort of a in between. Then I'm going to do some yeast. So I did these the other day. I'm happy with them. So we did 2 tablespoons of yeast, because again the cinnamon and stuff impacts the proofing time, so we want to have a significant amount of yeast in there. We're going to add some sugar, which will also help with the proofing. So we can do 120. that. I really should get a measuring cup, would make my life easier for that. We're going to do a bit of salt, a couple of teaspoons of salt, and then we're going to do our tablespoon of nutmeg and tablespoon of cinnamon. And then we want our ghee, which we can do 100 grams of ghee, which is semi-solid because it's been cold. Alright, so we get 100 grams of ghee, and then we're going to add flour. Now, if I'm going to make a batch of apple cinnamon, I would probably add apple, but I probably should have held back a little bit on the liquid, so I'm going to turn this one into just the choc chip version, and then the next batch I'll do the apple cinnamon, and I'll probably hold back a little on the liquid because I'm going to use stewed apples from my jars. So yeah, so I'm just going to do this one normal. We'll do the 1100 grams of flour. Alright, and then we're going to grab chocolate chips and we're going to put this all together. I'm going to bring it together a bit first and then I'll add the chocolate chips afterwards. So we will, obviously the camera's at a bad angle for this, but you know, we're going to bring this one together like normal, and then while that's going I'll move on to the next thing. Now this is the last of the chocolate chips I've got left, so that's all that's going in today. And that's fine. I have some chocolate melts and stuff to make some other. So we just put those ones through, and will be what it is. I didn't think about it, but I probably should have started the jerky first. But now that I've started the dough, I want to get the second batch done because I don't want to put the meat on the bench in between. So that's just the way it's going to be. So I've opened a jar of my stewed apples. So I'm just going to make up the same batch of dough. I'm going to hold back about 100 grams on liquid and add the apples in, and we will just see what it looks like, and I'll make a call from there. And I'll probably still use the nutmeg and the cinnamon as the flavor profile. If you can hear the rattling in the background, that's our washing machine, by the way. These chocolate chips didn't disperse very well, so just do that. I'll get a lid for this one and it'll go up on the back of the smoker like the other time, and I'll find the other container as well. But yeah, I'm just going to mix up the same dough ratios, but with probably 250 grams, a cup worth of the apple, and 100 grams less on the liquid, and we'll see how we go. So I cut back on the liquid thinking that the apples would impart a fair bit of liquid, but they are fairly dry at the top of the jar, and I used about half the jar. I used about a pint of apples, and I feel like the dough is too dry. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little hot water, though this kettle is not real conducive to this, is it? So I might need a measuring cup. I'm just going to use a scoop, and I'm just going to add probably a couple of tablespoons at a time. That already looks pretty good. Just wasn't quite there, so now we're just going to let it all come together and see how it comes together, and we'll bake it and see how it goes. Do you know what? It's probably gone the other way a little bit now, but that's fine. I probably should have stuck with what I did. But it's not sticky, so I will manage with this, but I probably shouldn't have second guessed myself. So anyway, I'm going to get this in a container to proof as well. All right, so onto the dehydrator. Now, I gave things a rinse off. I haven't pulled these out of plastic because I'm not going to use them at the moment, so they stay cleaner. But I gave everything a wipe out and a rinse off, and a dry, and then stuck it all back together. I haven't turned it on yet though, so I haven't tested that, but I'm going to move it back over there when I turn it on anyway. So for the moment, I'm just going to fill it here and move it. Now, I didn't think about it when let me get a board first. if I've ever mentioned this board. This was on my wish list on Amazon. I need to buy myself a couple more because I love them. They're made out of the camphor laurel, and it was given to me by Nyssa, I think, maybe. Bought this off my wish list for me, and they're fantastic. So the camphor laurel, so you can smell them, and they're all one piece. And I have a lot of cheap boards from Kmart and stuff, and because they're in multiple pieces, they get stuff gunk in them, but they also break and things like that. So highly recommend these. They're Orana. I'll try and remember to link it because they're antibacterial because they're camphor laurel, and we keep them sanitized anyway. But I just don't know if I've ever mentioned that, and I'm pretty sure it was Nyssa who sent it to me. So anyway, now when I was planning today, I didn't think overly clearly about if I'm running the dehydrator, I'm not going to be able to run the mincer. So I won't be able to mince the beef today for the bolognese or the burgers, but that's fine because we weren't eating burgers today. We have fish for Good Friday. So we weren't running... I don't need the bolognese or the burgers today. I've got the stock that I'm going to strain. Some of it can go in the fridge for the bolognese. The rest can be used to do the birria, which I should be able to get done today because I don't need anything like electrical to do that. Maybe puree something in the Thermomix at one point, but that's fine. But because the dehydrator is going to be running, I won't be able to run the mincer or anything. So I hadn't thought about that, but that's fine. So all I'm going to do is I've got my beef that's been in the fridge that we marinated yesterday. And I'm just going to spread it out on these trays and then get it going. Darryl's just coming back from church. That's why the dogs are barking. So we're going to make sure that it's spread out nice and flat so that it has the better surface area to dry. Now, I am not sure how well this is going to go. I haven't used this dehydrator before, but it comes with rave reviews. So some of the sizing of this, it's a bit thicker than I'd like. And some of the pieces have ended up quite large, but everything shrinks when it's dehydrated, of course, and I'm just going to run it, and what's going to happen is that if worse comes to worse, then we run it at a higher temperature, or I pull stuff out and I cut it up a little bit more, or we'll just assess over the day. We've got the whole day to do it. It's 9:30. I should have done this first up, but we can always run the generator if need be. So I'm just going to fill this up and we shall see how it goes. Just going to fill the trays like that, fill all of them, get them all in. All right, I managed to get it all on 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 trays. So it means I can leave the drip tray in there, which makes it easy for cleaning. And we'll see, like a bit more spread out, potentially cook quicker, but we've got it on the 9. We'll assess it as we go. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to get it plugged in and turned on. Now, I assume it gives you some suggestions on temperatures. It says 71 degrees. Is the max temp required for beef, but it doesn't actually give me a suggested. I might have a look at the QR code and see if it gives me a suggested. I've made jerky plenty of times, not in this dehydrator obviously, but yeah, we're giving it a go on this dehydrator, the Bench Foods dehydrator that they gifted me, and so we'll follow their guidelines and see how it works. So I'm just going to close it up. I'm going to get it on the bench and get sorted. All right, the apple cinnamon dough has well and truly proofed, so we're going to do this one first. Just going to shape them to the 90 grams like I did last time. Get them in the pan. And then just do the normal. Bring them into a ball, just like that. And I'm just going to put them in the pan like I did last time. So I'm just going to go through and do that. We got 2 trays of apple to do their second proof, and now I'm going to do the chocolate chip ones as well. Same process, 90 odd grams, the same trays. All right, so we got 4 trays, the 2 apple, the 2 chocolate. The apples are almost finished their second proof, and the chocolate ones are still going. So we're just going to cover these up and let them go for the moment. I do need to sort out the stock probably next, so I might move these out of the way before I do that and let these proof somewhere else, so I've got the bench to use. Apple cinnamon, I'm going to get them in the oven. The choc chip is still needing to proof, so while this oven's running with these in it, they'll be on top and they'll warm up a little bit more. The chocolate chips were frozen, so that's going to have cooled the dough down a fair bit. So I'm going to get these in the oven for the moment. All right, I ordered my chili, so I got some. I did try growing them this year, but we failed at the garden yet again. We did get a couple, actually, some small ones that are here that I'm going to save seeds from. We did get a few that managed to grow, but I ordered some online. Now, these are not cheap. I did an order through the Hispanic Pantry. I normally buy through Amazon because it's free shipping, but Amazon was out. So I did an order, and what I did was I bought one of their mixed packs for Birria, which is a guajillo, ancho, and I'm not sure how that's pronounced, morita, maybe, and to blend for the Birria. But I also bought a second bag of guajillo because we don't use a whole lot of these in each batch. So between like these, the hot ones are definitely will use less than the guajillos. So I will probably get maybe 6 batches more, 8, 10 even maybe batches out of this. So most recipes that you use sort of like 3 to 6 of the guajillos, and then I will probably just use 1 each of the other 2 as in the first batch, and we'll see how we go. From what I understand, anchos are quite hot. The moritas are more fruity, smoky, less heat, but I decided that I'd try the different flavors to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of these, the rest of them I'm going to vacuum seal in jars and keep them for future reference, because this is the first time I've done it canned. I've made Birria multiple times, but I've always done it stovetop, long cook, things like that. This is the first time I'm trying it canned. So I've got a pan, but I'm not going to turn it on just yet because I've still got some rolls proofing on the stove and the first batch in the oven. So I'm almost ready to get that out. So in the meantime, what I might do is grab the rest of the stuff that I need, because I need to cut up some onion and stuff like that, because we're going to toast the chilies and the onions and all that together as the first step. And then we will boil the chilies in the liquid until they get really nice and soft so that we can puree them. So I'll probably grab a board, some onion, some garlic, that sort of thing. I'm going to add carrots as well. Doesn't traditionally use carrots, but the views from the Road Ladies on YouTube, who I've made their Birria a couple of times, they use carrots and swear by them as like adding a sweetness to it. So I'm going to add carrots to the sauce as well for that flavor as well. So I'm going to grab a board, knife and those things, and then I'll come back. Now, I'm not entirely sure how many jars this is going to fill or how far the liquid's going to go, so it's going to be a bit of a guessing game initially. So all I'm going to do is cut the onions into some big pieces, because we're going to fry these off in a pan with some oil with the chilies and stuff, and then we'll puree them afterwards. So I'm just going to cut them up nice and chunky. I'll do 2. The amount of beef that I've got is, I think it comes in 5 kilo lots. So that's probably what I'll open initially, is a 5 kilo bag, which means that I should get, say, 6 jars out of it maybe. So I only need enough liquid to top up those 6 jars. So I'm just going to make the base amount initially. So a couple of onions, half a dozen garlic cloves and my chilies, and a couple of carrots. If I end up with more liquid than beef, I can always can the liquid on its own, but the intent is to do it all in one jar, and then they can be emptied into a pot, heated up. We can dip our tortillas in the top of the fat and shred the beef sort of thing. That's the plan anyway. We will see how it progresses. So we got half a dozen garlic, big giant elephant garlic cloves. I might halve them as well. And 2 medium onions. I'm going to grab a couple of carrots. Because I like the carrots in there. And I'm just taking the ends off and then dicing these up a bit so that they can be toasted off in the oil with everything else. Just like that. So there was 3 smallish carrots. So that's the veggie thing, and I'm going to go with it. Grab a bowl. There's apple, cinnamon, hot cross buns I think are ready to come out. So I'm going to pull them out and put the chocolate chip ones in. Just get rid of all this into the compost. And we'll get the chocolate chip ones in. And I might give these a glaze. Cinnamon sugar glaze would probably be really nice, being that they're the apple cinnamon. Let me, always changing my mind, aren't I? So we've got some cinnamon here. We've got a little bowl that could do with a dust. And I'm just going to put a little bit of cinnamon in there, and some icing sugar. Not too much. We're going to make this nice and liquidy. Some ghee. We don't want this as a icing. This can be used on the chocolate ones too. So if I end up with too much, add some apple juice or something to it if I wanted. But I think that this will be fine. Though thinning it out and spreading it between the 2, like all 4 trays, might be a good idea. We'll give it a go. Let's just, now my icing sugar could have been sifted, but it's going to do what we want it to do. It's going to keep the tops soft, shiny, a little bit. Do you know, I actually think I forgot the sugar in this batch of dough too. So, you know, it's still a fruit bun, and now it's got a little bit of added sweetness on the top, soaking through, pooling in the little joins. Could have sifted my icing sugar. Lucky this is just, you know, for me, maybe the neighbours. They're not going to care. All right. There we go. So we're going to let them set up, get them out of the way. And that's my apple cinnamon ones. I'll cut one of these soon because I really want to have it nice and warm with a bit of butter. Be naughty and do that. So I'm going to do that shortly, but I am going to let that ghee just soak in for a little bit. So I'm going to move these out of the way onto the bench around the other side. I love those cast iron trays. They're my absolute favorite, and I use them for everything, and they don't get broken and all the rest of it, but they're really heavy. Anyway, so that's done. Okay, so now I can start my pot for the chilies and stuff. So I'm going to just have a look. So this is 100 grams. Each one's 100 grams. And then each of these are 100 grams as well. So if we say that we use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many's in a packet? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 6, which ends up being about half a packet. So we're going to use, say, 50 grams of guajillos, but then only like a couple of each of these. 2, 3. And anchos are the ones that are supposed to be quite hot. And they're a bigger chili, so 2 of those. We shall see. If it's really hot, it's really hot. We'll deal with it. The guajillos we don't find particularly hot. They have this lovely flavour with smokiness, not too much heat. Now, the other way to help reduce the heat is to remove the seeds. Now, I had quite good luck growing from the guajillo seeds from these dehydrated ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep these separate, the different types of seeds, and maybe they will be ones that I grow. So I need something to put them in. I'm just going to use some lids for the moment. And I'm going to take the majority of the seeds out, and we're going to toast these. So even if these seeds only have like a 10% germination rate, they were basically free because I'm using the chilies regardless, because some of these look a little toasted, whereas the last lot that I got, I don't feel like they were as coloured. So it would depend on what temperature they're dehydrating the chilies on and things like that. But as I said, they're free. So we've got the guajillos, and then we've got the meritas. Let's see if these have any seeds in them. A couple, not very many, but I'm going to pull them, and you never know. If I like the flavour of these, be handy to be able to grow them. So that's take the tips off them, because the stems off them, because they're not going to puree very well because they're so tough. This one has a whole bunch of seeds in it. But again, they seem a little bit toasted. But as I said, minimal germination rate, still worth giving a go. All it cost me is a little bit of time. These are very, these ones seem to be like, definitely seem to have been dehydrated at a higher temperature. So anyway, all right, so we've got the chilies in there. I'm going to pour a bit of fat in there, and we're going to toast these off. All right, so that's heating up. I'm going to toast those, and then I'm going to toast all the vegetables with it as well. So the next thing I need to do is get the beef cut up to go in the jars. I did ask Darryl to wash some jars for me, so I think he's coming back out to do that for me. And Apollo's currently finding me the right size. So this is just gravy beef or stewing beef, whatever you want to call it. Muscle. So it's a slow cook cut, which works well for, so it's muscle beef. It's beef that needs long cooking time to break down, which works perfectly for canning because we cook it for 90 minutes under pressure. It also is got a little bit of fat on it, which is good for flavor, and I don't have it's not excessively fatty, it's just a little bit of fat. So now it is hard to cut. I will need to sharpen my knife because it's muscle beef, it's hard to work through. So let me go find my knife sharpener. All right, so the chilies are all nice and toasty. They've got good smell to them. So I'm going to add the onion, the carrot, and the garlic. We'll toast this off as well. I'm also going to add a couple of some cloves. I've got this ground up, and some cinnamon as well. And we're browning the spices and the veggies off in that. Turn that down a little bit. And then I'm going to add some tomato, most reference tomato sauce, which for us is pretty much passata. Or I could do some tins of crushed tomatoes if I've got them, because I'm going to puree it anyway. As well as I'm going to have to cut out a whole bunch of coughing from the fumes. And a quart of chicken stock, which I still haven't strained. It's sitting here. So I need to strain some of that as well to put in here. So I'm need to do that. Okay, we've got some charring and some good colour on that. So I've just strained a bit of stock and making a mess, pouring it, because we want around about a quart. So there we go, some nice rich chicken stock. So I'm going to put that in there. And I'm going to do passata, and I'm going to top it up with a little bit of water to get all the passata out, but also to bring it up to more that quart amount. And then we're just going to simmer this until the chilies are soft enough to, and all the veggies and stuff, everything is soft enough to puree up. So we'll bring that up to more of a boil, but we don't want to lose we don't want to lose too much liquid. So lid on, bring it up so that it softens it, and then we'll sort it from there. Now I'm going to go back to cutting up the rest of this meat, but I have to clean up the stock that I spilt everywhere first. Alright, so cut up one section of meat. I'm just going to cut up the rest, and then once I get the jars sorted, all I'll do is I'll put the beef in the jars, and then once I've pureed the Birria sauce, that will go over the top of it. That's the plan anyway. We will see. We may thin out the Birria sauce more with more stock, because we're canning it, so we want there to be, we don't want it too viscous, because that can cause issues with canning. So we may need to thin the, I can't find my knife sharpener again, and I just pulled the other knife out that I thought was sharper, but it doesn't appear to be. People use things in this kitchen and they don't put them back where I put them. So I might have to go looking for it, but I need to get Darryl to wash the jars for me as well. So I'll bring you back. All right, so this has been simmering for sort of half an hour. And we're going to see, the Thermomix allows me things not to be super smooth and still to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to puree it in the Thermomix. I'm going to be careful though, because pureeing hot liquids in the Thermomix will create a little bit of pressure, so you do need to be careful with that. I'm just going to add some liquid and we'll see how we go. There's still a few bits in here that need to be pureed, but I'm going to start this way. Can you hop out of the way, please, babe? So I need a lid for the Thermomix, and we're going to take it up slowly so as not to have issues with that hot liquid. So I'm just going to start it on low and slowly take it up in speed. So we've got a fairly smooth consistency there, and I'm going to pour the rest of the liquid in, and we'll get that blended as well. All right, I'm going to let that cool for a little bit, and then I will probably give it another bit of a blend, but it's pretty smooth. So I'm going to tidy up while that cools a little bit, and then we're going to get these jars filled. The choc chip hot cross buns are sorted too, so I'm just going to give them a quick glaze. I've just added just a little bit more ghee to the mix that was left, and so the jerky's been going for maybe 3 hours, and Darryl's already found it at edible texture, so he's already stealing it from the dehydrator. I think I could have salted it a bit heavier, but other than that, it's pretty good. The thing with the jerky for us too is that we're not long storage. Will all get eaten within a couple of days, so it doesn't have to be excessively dried out because it's not going to be stored. All right, so we've tasted the sauce. It's probably not as hot as it could be, and I think it might need a little bit of salt, but I'm not going to play with it because we can always do that when it's served. And canning it's going to change the flavors slightly. So this is going to be our base test run of this canned birria. So I washed some jars. I'm using some 31s, which is what I like to do for meat-based ones. We'd probably use 2 in a meal, but if it's just Darryl and I eating it, then we'd use 1 sort of thing. 1 will be like a little bit of an excess, but 2 is scant for everyone. It just depends on how we're eating it. It really does. I do have 36s as well, but I'm just not sure how far this is all going to stretch. So I'm going to use 31s, and we haven't tried it yet, so the kids may not even like it. So as I said, I've made birria plenty of times, but I haven't made it. I haven't canned it, and canning it can change so many things. So we're going to fill jars, and I reckon I'm going to need more jars than this. But we shall see. Maybe not. I didn't weigh the beef, but it was like a 20-kilo carton, and there was 4 vacuum sealed bags, so I assume that each bag was around about the 5-kilo mark, and this is 1 bag. So we're going to fill these jars. We should be right. This should be about right. I don't want to stack them too full. Like normally I'd pack the meat in really, really tight, but we want the liquid around the meat this time. Now I could sear the meat too. I could have salted and peppered and seared the meat, but the type of beef that it is, which is just like a stewing beef, it's really not going to do a whole lot of good for this stuff, because the goal is to have it fall apart. Like that's the whole point of birria, is to have pull apart beef. So so quantity wise, I could probably lose a jar and go 7 rather than 8 by the looks of might be a tight squeeze in 7 but a bit of a scant in 8. We'll go like this, I think. All right, and then we'll assess. We'll add the liquid, and we'll decide whether we need to reduce some of the meat or not. So then we've got the liquid, and I think I've ended up with far more liquid than I need to. I do have another thing of beef. Now I'm going to have to work this sauce in too. So I'm going to pour a cup on top, and then I'm going to go and get my packing stick. And as I said, this is a trial run, so we may have been better off like mixing it with the sauce before packing the jars. We'll see. Now, as per usual in this house, I cannot find my packing stick. That's fine. What I'm going to do is, this will work. It's one of those long-handled spatula things with the metal down the middle. So what we do is just working that sauce into these jars, and we'll have a look. So I'll do one that you can see. Let me bring you down here. So you can see this jar, it's only got the sauce sitting at the top. So if we draw the sauce down into the bottom of the jar, but I'm kind of feeling like this one needs a little less meat, perhaps. Now, the meat can be canned without any sauce at all, so the amount of liquid in here is not for safety purposes in any way, but it is for flavor. Now, I don't know how much of this sauce we need per jar to make the flavor right, but I feel like we need more than half a cup. So I'm going to take a piece of beef out of there so that I can top this up with another half a cup, which means that there's a cup of sauce in with this amount of beef, which feels like a much better sort of a ratio. But as I said, this is a testing, so that's fine. That's got good headspace. So it's about a cup of sauce with the amount of meat that needed there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull a piece of meat out of the top of this one. I'll move you up again so you can see what I'm doing. Add another half cup to this jar so that there's a full cup of sauce in it, and then pack the sauce in around everything. And I think that's going to be my goal. A cup of sauce with the meat. So however much meat needs to be in there to get that cup full of birria sauce. So we're going to go a little bit lighter on the meat than if we were doing meat with no liquid, so that we can get that cup of liquid in there. Alright, so I'm going to make a mess and keep going, and I'm going to have to clean the rims of these jars really well because of the mess that I'm making. But I'll get these filled and then I'll bring you back. Alright, so we're going to see how this goes. I've got probably half the same amount of birria sauce left. I might refrigerate it, see what this is like, and then like open one of these tomorrow maybe and have a look at it, and then if we like it, do some more up. I haven't decided yet. So all I'm going to do is clean the rims, make sure that the sauce is all the way through as I spin the jars and see what it's doing, and clean the rims really well. And then put them aside. I've made a mess of the rims, so I'm going to have to use a fair bit of paper towel, but we'll just put it in the compost afterwards. Right, we're going to give them a go. We'll see how they turn out. I'm sure they'll be edible regardless. So Kavik is looking for some lids for me. I'm going to get the rings on these. Alright, so I've got the rings on them. I'm going to run the vinegar just around the outside of the rings because I've had my hands on them and I don't want any grease from my hands to interfere with the seal. And then Kavik is washing me the lids, so I will get those on. I'll find some clips. Alright, I like to run a little bit of vinegar around the lids as well. Again, Kavik just washed them in warm soapy water for me, but I like to make sure that they're going to do a good seal because I go to all this effort to can it and it would suck if it didn't work. So lids on, and then we put clips. Every time I can, I mention that I use double clips pressure canning in my Fowler's jars. Personal preference, but that's what I do. Now, I only have my Presto because I don't have the weight for the other canner, so I'm probably going to need, it's not going to all fit in one canner, so, but I do have the sauce left too, so I could can that up separately. If I had have had some chicken defrosted, I probably could have done some with chicken, but I don't. I will decide. I'll figure it out. I'll get this sorted with in the canner first. I think only 6 jars will fit. So I'll do them. All right, so clips on those. Now I'm just going to get the canner sorted. The jars are cool, so the water in the canner needs to be cool as well. It's the Birria sauce was hot, but then added to the raw beef and the cool jars, it's all just room temperature now. So we just want room temperature water in the canner. All right, we can only fit 6 in the Presto, so that's fine. I'm going to do these 6. I'm going to process them for the 90 minutes. I'm going to put the other 2 jars and the rest of the Birria in the fridge for the moment. Put it in the fridge for the moment, and I'll come back to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this started. I'm going to get my bench cleaned, and then I'm going to sit down. I've got the kettle boiling. I'm going to have a coffee and a hot cross bun. And then I will make a decision as to what I do. I need to process the other 2 jars. So do I want to fill another 4 jars as well? There's probably enough Birria sauce there, but that does end up with me with 12 jars of something that I'm not entirely sure whether it's exactly right yet. But it's just beef in a tomato chili sauce. Like, it's not like it's inedible for a variety of things. It may not be quite Birria, but it'll still just be beef in a tomato, like pure, like a pull apart beef in a tomato chili type sauce. So it'll still be usable in many, many ways. So we'll see. So I'm going to get this going. I've got it turned on. I'm going to get the lid on it, and then I'll bring you back when I'm ready. Got an update on the jerky as well. So this is a tray out of the dehydrator, and even the thicker bits are pretty well dried all the way through. There's some slightly thicker bits that are a little bit more meaty, but in general it's all pretty done. So I kept that at a pretty high heat. You can do it a lot slower, lower temperature, but the point is that power usage is a bit of an issue for us, so the shorter period of time is better. But even these really big pieces have cooked through, so that only took like 4 hours maybe all up to get it to that sort of a dry, chewy. Now obviously if I was cutting this thicker, if it was a fattier jerky and things like that, it's going to have difference, but for this style of jerky that worked really well, and we're pretty happy. Flavor wise, it's not great. It needed a lot more salt, probably a lot more pepper too. It's very edible, but there is not a whole lot of flavor. You just get the beef, and because there's a lack of fat in it, it's not as beefy as it could be. Yeah. So you grab a piece that I've already peeled off. So it's good. It's not great. We're going to keep on working on that one. All right, I got the pour over coffee going, and this is a hot cross bun. So this one was an apple cinnamon one. Looks like there's next to no apple in it. I reckon I could have bumped the apple a lot. The texture is amazing, but because I forgot to put that sugar in this dough, it is very much just a cinnamon bread, not even a sweet one. But I also feel like I probably could have used that whole quart of apples in this batter and still not overdone the apple and the cinnamon. So I will do that next time. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to have some just with a bit of butter. Chocolate chip one, same. It's beautiful and soft, and there's some pockets of chocolate chips and stuff in there, but nice. They're perfect. So I'm going to be really naughty and have 2 of them with my coffee for afternoon tea. I don't think I've eaten today. Can't remember. But this is going to be, I'm going to put some butter, slather these with a bit of butter, have my coffee, and I used a little bit of the white chocolate sugar-free syrup in it, so you know, really decadent. And this is the afternoon tea. The canner has just started spurting steam, so we want it to spurt steam for a steady stream of steam for 10 minutes. So I'm actually going to wait for that before I stick the weight on it and then go inside, and then it will take 90 minutes once it hits pressure. So I will leave it at that for now, and I will come back when the canner is, probably when it's done. I might show you the weight dancing, because I always try and mention that too, but this isn't really a how to can video because I'm only trialing this, so don't, you know, copy me. But anyway, I'm going to go and enjoy this. Alrighty, jars out of the canner. We had some hiccups. The gas ran out and I had to restart the timer and things like that, but they're out now. Very dark color. We shall see. We will just, as I said, this was a test run. It'll be tasty regardless. I'll make it work, even if it needs a whole lot of sour cream to be edible. Who knows, but we will see. But they're done. So they're out. I'm going to wait till tomorrow to taste one. So I'll do it on tomorrow's video. When we try one, I'll do one up for lunch or something. And then decide what to do with the other 2 jars that are in the fridge with the extra Birria sauces there as well. All right, so next on the cards is dinner. It is Good Friday, so we are doing fish because it is tradition. We are going with easy, lazy fish though. When Darryl had to go into Toowoomba for the appointment the other day, these were on sale for half price, and they were 50 times the Flybuys points as well. So I grabbed 4 of these. It's not a cheap way to eat fish. I think even half price, these were like $6.25 each. And it said, you know, 6 pieces of fish, but it's only 380 grams. So, you know, they're all only 380 grams, and there's 8 of us, and yeah. So I'm going to cook them all up. What doesn't get eaten can go in the fridge to be eaten tomorrow. But I'm just going to get some baking trays and some racks, stick them in the oven, cook them off, and then I'll probably just dice up some potatoes and do some of the stovetop home fries type thing to go with them, and then maybe some mayo. So I'm just going to grab some baking trays. As I said, lazy. That's all it is, just pieces of fish, and we'll see how good it is. It is one of the better ones to have bought in the scope of all of them. Deep sea, okay, sorry. Yes, origin New Zealand, wild caught in New Zealand. They're wild caught New Zealand. So it is New Zealand fish, which is why it was more expensive. Half price, it worked out okay. But the crumbs, it's going to be high carb and all the rest of it. But this is what we're doing. I could have bought some grilled fish of some sort, but this is what I went with. So I'm going to get these in the oven, and then I'll start on the potatoes. So I've just diced up the potatoes really small. All I'm going to do is throw some ghee in a pan and then cook these off. I'll put a lid on them initially so that they sort of steam a bit. And then once they're softer, I will take the lids off, and it will they'll crisp up. And that is going to be the potato to go with the fish today. Pulled all the jerky out and stuck it in the jars, what wasn't eaten today already, and we've pulled some of the really thicker pieces, or the bits with the bits of fat on them. Darryl has pulled out to eat now, but definitely I've got 2 more of those roasts left in the fridge, so I might do at least another batch, because it was nice and quick. Do it a bit saltier and maybe a little bit more uniformly a bit thicker, perhaps. Some of these bits that were really thin are very snappy, less chewy. So we will see, but that was what came out of the dehydrator today. So super simple. We have the home fries and the fish, and then some mayo on the side for them to dip in, and then there is hot cross buns for dessert. So I really probably should have done some veggies, but I'd like some greens or something, but I didn't. So this is our simple, and it's right in the shade of the pole. But anyway, that's what we're doing. It is 8:30, and I'm just coming out to quickly do an outro before I edit this video. It's just the way life is going this week, I think. So I think I showed dinner. So we had fish and chips for dinner for Good Friday, and then cleaned up and put everything away. Kids had hot chocolate and hot cross buns for dessert, and yeah, that's it. Now I'm going to edit this and go to bed. So thanks for joining me again, guys, and probably be another video tomorrow.